Hi, my name is Sebastian Hanekroot. My company is called Color & Books. I'm based in the Netherlands, and what I do, I work with photographers and graphic designers, curators, publishers on books, image books, photo books, artist books. And I'm not a designer and not a publisher, I'm not a printer. I work on the reproduction of images. People like Rudy come to me to help them get the best possible reproduction of their work in the book. For me, that starts with a clear assessment of the files, the image files in RGB, red, green and blue, the digital files that are presented to me. Printing involves a different color set. The printing is usually, if we talk about color printing, is done in cyan, magenta, yellow and black, key CMYK. That's an entirely different color space from RGB, which is the color space of light. So we will lose a lot of the color expressions, the possibilities of colors expressions in RGB, which we have in RGB. So therefore, I think it's essential that the RGB information is at its highest level, possible level, before we start converting to printable colors. So I want to make sure that the material we have has its ultimate expression. So I need to find out what is the visual strategy of the artist himself, in this case Rudy, and then see if I can add to it, if I can improve that expression. So this is what I did in his book too. And for me are key elements three-dimensionality, a sense of three-dimensionality, a very clear focus, where do you want the audience to look at, what should not distract, and the presence of light, how light reflects in the image and expresses itself, its presence to the audience. And once we achieve that, we have to establish how we print it, on what paper, which printing technique will be color or black and white, and how do we do black and whites, etc. There's loads of possibilities. For Rudy, there was this distinct problem that many of the colors of the images underground his work are in really vibrant colors that are only to be found within the RGB color space and not within the CMYK color space. And how do you bring that about? How do you bring the power of these wild colors about? So in talking with the printer, we discussed that we might try to work with not a standard set of CMYK inks, but we're using neon colors, day glow colors. Instead, you disturb a lot of the balance, in the gray balance within the image, but you bring out certain effects that are only to be achieved using different inks. So we did test print with that, and that gave us a very nice input about the possibilities of this, and that it would work in many objectives, but it also created a couple of problems which we try to deal with by changing the separations, by adding, maybe we try how that works, adding an extra print layer in green to compensate for some of the effects. And this is what we'll do tomorrow, actually, tomorrow evening. We'll be on press, and then we'll experiment with this extra green layer, with a diluting of this very bright and shiny neon magenta. Maybe it's a bit too wild, we have to dilute it a bit to take it down a bit, etc. So we have to experiment a bit, so it's going to be fun to print this one. And it's going to be a lovely book too.